My name is Ron Blauk, and this is not complicated. While driving on the Beltway around Washington, D.C. in January of 1996, I was eye-gazing with myself in my rearview mirror doing a self-help practice suggested to me by a group of former Scientologists I'd been working with for a year. In retrospect, I was not being particularly wise doing it while driving, but that's what your 30s are for. After a few minutes of engagement, something suddenly shifted inside of my body, and I went from feeling the way I normally felt all day long to feeling a high level of happiness and goodness. I went from a -3 in mood to a +5 in a single shift. Nothing like that had ever happened before. I continued to drive and eye gaze, doing both things successfully, and then there was another felt shift in which my happiness level jumped to a positive level 8. It may have been the happiest I'd ever felt, not realizing until that moment that my normal waking state, since at least age 4, was some kind of depressive thing that made me feel like shit all the time. I continued to eye gaze, and the happy feeling began to rise. I went with it. I was feeling the best I'd ever felt in my life. Then it ramped up past a perfect 10 to a level 12. And then the world changed. Deep in the center of my chest, something exploded awake and began to move. My subjective experience of it was that it felt like I had a full-size, multiple-engine freight train explode up my spine from my heart center to my head. Imagine the whole train, a real full-size train somehow fitting inside my body with that level of explosive energy ramming upward in a kind of timeless instant. Until it ran into my head. Then it felt like a full-size, fully loaded 747 slamming directly into the face of a cliff. Truly that much energy, as if it were a real plane crash but magically contained inside my skull. And then the world shifted. Somehow I became unhinged from my body and I tilted 3 levels to the right. It's truly impossible to describe, but now I was driving on the DC Beltway without any internal moorings holding me in place inside of my body. Terror arose. I recall somehow getting across several lanes to park on the shoulder of the road, then sitting there for 30 minutes, shaking, trying to get the world to become stable again. I was 30 miles from home. I have no idea how I made it back. That was the beginning of 7 years of hell. It was a Kundalini threshold event very much in the style of Gopi Krishna's awakening. The snake had uncoiled, but from my heart, not my root. It was a massive rush of energy activating my entire nervous system and blowing me unstable. That energy kicked me out of my life stupor, and it drives everything about me 30 years later, continually growing and refining itself. Allowing for exquisite bliss, but also creating stupendous pain and disruption. I get to feel all the feels. An awakened Kundalini is not for the faint of heart. If your mind can stop, something that happened almost 10 years later and discussed in the first episode of This Is Not Complicated, your body can activate. Those 2 things are the central truths of my life at age 63, informing everything that happens all the time. They're key to understanding my often odd views, and they're why I'm beginning this series of short explanations of how I think about how the world works with both of them.